Mr. Goblin King.
Rah, 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 rah.
I've got something to say to you.
Rah?
Why stop singing? Rocket Janice! Oh, sorry, dearie. Miss Janice is on her break, so I'm afraid she will not be able to partake in this sketch. Sorry about that. And she has an incredibly busy schedule ahead of her, so yes, I'm afraid she won't be available. So sorry. Oh, all right. Fine, I'll do it myself. Oh, the Goblin King. Yes, you're the Goblin King. You're not a myth, you're an actual thing, literally right in front of me. Have you ever thought about not eating babies? There's 100 things you could eat much more of that taste just as good. You mentioned roast beef now, that's a treat. Or have you considered, perhaps, a vegan diet? Ew! Veganism is woke! Woke! It's shit! Ew. Oh no, not him again. That's right, you liberal! I'm back from the dead! Ew! Ew! You woke! You woke person! Ew!
Rah.
Ew! I know you're played by a white guy in this sketch, but in the episode, the Doctor is played by a black man. How woke! How tolerant! How lefty! Actually, that gives me an idea. Mr. Goblin King, when I say now, open your big mouth.
Rah.
Now! What did you do?
Yes, yummy, yummy. Delicious. Tasty baby man. Yes, tastes even better than actual baby. Delicious. Nom, 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 nom.
I hope you enjoyed your meal, Mr. Goblin King.
Oh.
Now, me and Ruby and Lulubelle are off, so yeah, but hopefully that baby filled your tum. Although, in all seriousness, there are plenty of other things you could eat besides human babies and man babies. Like there are like the vegetables. Like there's lots of lovely vegetables. They're really nice, especially with meat.
Vegetables.
Seriously, next time you have some cold meats, have a salad with it, or have some roasted vegetables with your roast. Trust me, you'll enjoy them.
Okay.
Right then, enjoy the rest of your man baby Christmas Eve dinner. I'll see you around in time and space. Ta-ra.
Okay, right.
What a delightful performance, dearie. Delightful.
Nom 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 nom. Yes, tasty baby man. Delicious.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who, the 2023 Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, which is the first full story to feature Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor, following on from the end of The Giggle, where he played a crucial part in the final act of that story. But now this is his full, proper post-regeneration story. First one as the lead incarnation, and it's also the first story to feature Ruby Sunday, as played by Millie Gibson, as this is her introductory episode. The story sees the Doctor, after noticing Ruby Sunday, who has had a series of days of bad luck over the December 2023 period, decides to investigate and discovers that time-surfing goblins have been moving her into place to capture her mother's adopted newborn child that she is fostering for a few days, so they can take that up and eat it, as these goblins like chance and luck and coincidence, and they feed on all of that. So to eat a baby, which they also eat physical beings as well, so to eat a baby that has had chance and coincidence around it, due to the fact that its sort of adoptive sister has similarities to it, as Ruby is also adopted by Carla Sunday, her adoptive mother, and she was also born on Christmas Eve 19 years prior. So lining her up, as well as the fact that they live in a house, the top flat of a house, which is easy to get to their ship in the sky. So they've been moving Ruby in to cause all this coincidence, so that the baby would taste even nicer for them. So that's how all of that's been playing out, and the Doctor has been noticing all of this, so he moves in to try and save the baby and Ruby from the Goblins. And that's basically the plot of the first half of the episode. The second half goes more into the Doctor and Ruby just hanging out with each other and in the house, and then later the Goblins then trying to do the same thing to a baby Ruby 19 years prior. So the Doctor then has to go and stop them from doing that. So yeah, pretty simple story. In fact, this is the most simplest plot of any of these episodes released last year in 2023, with the possible exception of Destination Skaro, but that was a Children in Need special, so that one doesn't really count. Actually, let's take that back. It was Planet Bedtime Stories, the way back. That was probably the most simplest. But again, putting those to the side, the main 4 episodes that aired in 2023, this one probably has the simplest plot. Not that the Star Beasts was that much more complicated. I like that about post-regeneration stories. Simple, but effective. You start off with a solid, but not perfect episode, that just so long as it's fun. And I think that's what's been the most success with the post-regeneration stories, or the first stories of a Doctor in the modern series, is that they can be simple but fun. And for the most part, I think Deep Breath's probably the closest to having a more solid, like your typical plot, but even then it's got its highlights. These are some of the contributing factors that make the 11th Hour one of the best post-regeneration stories. Scratch that, the best post-regeneration story, and one of the best 11th Doctor stories, and one of the best of the 2010s. It's why The Woman Who Fell to Earth is a great first episode for the 13th Doctor's era, regardless of what you think about what came next. It's a very good start to that era. It's why I think the Star Beast is really good. It's why the Christmas Invasion is one of the best Christmas specials. The only one I think doesn't quite fit into that territory is Deep Breath, but even then, that's still a fairly solid post-regeneration story, with some fun interactions with the characters for the most parts. Meanwhile, Rose is more of a introduction to the whole universe type of story, so that one is also quite plot-heavy, but you can still see some of that DNA rubbing off on that story. And some of Rose's DNA seems to be rubbing off on Church on Ruby Road. If you consider that the 2023 specials are very much like a Series 4-esque inspired trilogy of specials, but still trying to cover elements of the show's past, such as Mel Unit, The Toymaker, Beat the Meat from the comics, etc. Also featuring Destination Skaro, Genesis of the Daleks, Davros, the Daleks, the birth of the Daleks, and so forth, etc. But whilst the specials, minus maybe Destination Skaro, feel very much like a Series 4 to Part 2, or Part 3 if you count the 2008 to 10 specials as Part 2, then It's pretty much a Series 4-esque style series, but with nods and winks and lovings to other elements of the show. Oh, and also the whole Doctor's baggage from the previous 3 Doctor series. Church on Ruby Road definitely feels like a Rose Christmas Invasion DNA inspired story, but doing its own thing at the same time. So I have a feeling that the Ncuti Gatwa era is going to take a lot of inspiration from series 1 and 2, as it's based much like how the specials felt very Series 4-esque, but with the post Series 4 flavourings in there and the other elements of the 60th anniversary added. The whole Timeless Child Flux elements are probably also going to tie in, as the Doctor does mention he was adopted in this episode. In this episode, he mentions he was adopted, So we're going to have some of that element still tying in. Regardless of what you think about the Timeless Child stuff, the whole, the characters stuff for the Doctor, that's still carrying on into the 15 era. Whether Flux will is to be seen. I would not be surprised if 15 did have some sort of guilt like about that, though not as emotionally baggage as 14. But I would not be surprised if that continued. Same with anything about Gallifrey from 12 and 13's eras. Although I do not expect the Time Lords to be coming back anytime soon. This is Russell T Davies after all. Unless it's the big bad of the era's finale, in which case, maybe, or as a setup for the next tenure. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Church on Ruby Road, the first episode of this Doctor's era, and the 4th/5th of this new run of the show. So yeah, this is a fun story. It's enjoyable. I had a really great time watching this episode the first time, and it's still really enjoyable on rewatches. I had a massive grin watching it on Christmas Day. It was so fun. Another one of those episodes where I just grinning throughout the entire episode, or just having so much fun. So it joins the leagues of the Day of the Doctor and the Power of the Doctor, as well as probably a few others I can't quite remember, and probably the 60 specials too, in that sense, of just being so fun and enjoyable to watch at the time on first viewing. It's so enjoyable. Future viewings, yeah, still pretty damn fun too. This is just a fun, enjoyable episode, which is good for Christmas Day. You don't need it every single Christmas. As we saw with the original run of Christmas specials, they mixed it up a bit, like some of Stephen Moffat's ones would go into horror sometimes, like Last Christmas, and to an extent, parts of The Return of Dr. Mysterio, whilst Husbands of River Song was very much like a pantomime style episode. I think Return tried to mix a bit of both in. For example, meanwhile, the Matt Smith ones, well, most of them are very Christmas heavy, but they would tackle the different genres. Christmas Carol was inspired by Christmas Carol, Doctor Who in the Wardrobe by Narnia, The Snowman, well, I suppose it did Christmas Carol again, but also doing its own thing. Flipping on its head, and also introducing the mysterious girl element into it, or reintroducing it after Asylum of the Daleks. And then Time of the Doctor was the big climax of the Doctor's era. Even Russell experimented with tones and styles with his Christmas specials. Like The Runaway Bride is more of a comedy one. Voyage of the Damned is like a disaster story, which makes sense because it's on its own version of Titanic in space. It's definitely riffing on the fact that Titanic came out 10 years prior. And then The End of Time, which includes the New Year's Day episode, by the way, is like the fifth and final RTD Era 1 series finale, pretty much. So it does series finale stuff with that one, as well as The Return of the Time Lords. I'm not going to go through every single one. It's just a couple of examples. This one's just like, yeah, again, it's gone back to like a fun, comedic story run, much like Christmas Invasion, Runaway Bride, Husband's River Song, I suppose Return of Dr. Mysterio. Maybe Next Doctor, possibly, if we count as a fun romp. I think there's a bit more emotion in that one than some of the other ones, like with the story that plays out there. But yeah, Chatham Ruby Road, really fun, enjoyable. I know some people were disappointed about it, certainly later down the line. I know it got fairly positive reception overnight, but then later on down the line I saw people saying they were a bit more disappointed, didn't quite care for it. Fair enough. It is a bit of a fluff episode. It would probably be considered a filler if it wasn't a special, but it's a good, smooth, slow building setup to the new era and the new characters. It's a really fun one, and the Goblins pose a pretty good threat in this episode. What the stuff we learn about them and what's told about them. Yes, they probably work better as a Halloween villain. Note that down, Russell. If you ever do a Halloween special, the goblins are a good monster to bring back for that. Although, mind you, a Halloween special, you could probably do any scary monster, or any Halloween-esque monster for that. I know the Cybermen are a popular option, as are the Weeping Angels. We should probably write some of these ideas down, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Halloween special featuring the Goblins. Yes, very nice, very nice. And, what else? What about an Easter special with a giant chicken? Is that going to be too silly? It might be a bit too silly. I know. How about a Legend of the Sea Devils sequel? Yes, but better. Joking aside, if there is a Halloween special, the goblins are a good creature to bring back for that. Or a Halloween-esque episode, or an episode set around, or aired around Halloween, like a Halloween Apocalypse was. But yeah, we have a really good and simple but effective villain, once again, as our first Doctor's first story for a Doctor. But we've also got Ruby Sunday, who is probably the most instantly likable companion probably ever, actually. I mean, I don't really know if I've ever taken, at least for the new series, I don't know if I've ever taken to a companion as quickly as Ruby Sunday. Even Donna in series 4, because how she was in Runaway Bride, and then we got to learn and love about her over Partners in Crime mostly, but also the rest of the series as well. But yeah, she was definitely more likable in Partners in Crime than Runaway Brides. But despite liking a companion within an episode or two of their first appearance, including the guest companions, Ruby Sunday is probably the one who's like the most instantly likable, at the very least the first like 10 minutes at the most, and you're already kind of really liking her. Millie Gibson does a fantastic performance in the role. Absolutely brilliant. Love this new character. Want to see where she's going. Yeah, there's a few Rose similarities. She's 19. Her name begins with an R, and she's blondish. And lives in London, although this seems to be West London, as they mentioned Portobello Road, which is in West London, whilst Rose is in East London. No, she wasn't. She was South London. Donna, funny enough, was a West London as well in Series 4, but is now North London. I'm not sure about Martha. She's able to walk to Royal Hope Hospital, which is in the place of St. Thomas's Hospital, which is in Central London. So I'm going to go with Central London, maybe South at a push for the suburbs. I think Clara probably moved to London when she talked to Coal Hill, so that's East London. I suppose that's all of it covered then. Not sure where Amy and Rory moved to later down the line, but I presume they probably stayed within the West Country, near to Ledworth and near Gloucester, so maybe like that area. Ruby Sunday, brilliant character, and I also really enjoyed Carla and Cherry. Cherry is just really great. She's so funny and so likable as well. Carla is great. She's a great person, and I liked how the performance shifted to someone a bit more jaded and more fed up with life when Ruby was taken out of time, when the goblins tried to take her instead, and she was removed from the timelines. I liked how they showed the difference between a more happy Carla who loved taking in all of these children, looking after everyone, and whilst having to come and look after Cherry was a bit of an inconvenience, they still all loved each other. They were all very happy, and then once Ruby was out of the picture, everything was completely different. Carla really is only looks after a few kids for some money in the alternative universe, and is a bit more jaded and grumpy. Whilst Cherry has definitely lost some of her spark as well. And I like how, with the alternative universe where Ruby's taken out of time and everything's changed, we've got a very stark contrast between the characters. Well, the Sunday family, at least. Specifically Carla, whose actress is bloody brilliant as well. Like all of the Sunday family actors are great. But yeah, Carla especially, her actress, when we go from like really happy, ready to look after her 33rd child, Carla, earlier on, to the resentful, couldn't really give a damn one when Ruby's gone. And yeah, It's a great performance. Unfortunately, everything is fixed at the end. Oh, and that reminds me, there's one other. Well, actually, there's a few other characters, but there's one other character that we shall talk about in a moment. Also, fun fact: Davina McCall appears as herself, doing a thing for her show about looking for parents and families of children who are abandoned or don't have parents or don't know who their parents are. She appears in this episode, and she actually has a little. She's more than a glorified cameo. She actually has a few scenes where the goblins try to target her and even get saved by the Doctor at one point. I'm not a huge Davina McCall fan personally, and I've heard recently that she may have said some things that may not have been great. But in terms of her appearance in this episode, as well as also her enthusiasm and love for the show, and Russell inviting her on board in the Unleashed documentary, the Unleashed episode for this episode, then it is quite nice to see and quite fun. Also, this does mean she's a returning actress, as apparently she voiced a robot version of herself in Bad Wolf. Apparently, yeah, for the Big Brother segment. Wow, Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways were nearly 20 years ago. 20 years next summer. Wow. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put this pin in now. Don't forget to get ready for the 20th anniversary of the new series next March. We've got just over a year. Well, at time of recording, it's January the 20th. But time of this going out should be late February, early March. So we've got just over a year to prepare. Let's get ready for the new series' 20th anniversary. But yeah, Davina McCall's addition to the episode is pretty cool, as is some of the other fun characters we see throughout the episode. But besides the Sunday family and the Goblins and the Doctor himself, Mrs. Flood is probably the most notable. Who is Mrs. Flood? She seems to be just this neighbour who's quite nice, but can have a go at someone if they upset her, like leaving a blue box on the street. And, well, she doesn't have to go to the Doctor. She thinks it's another neighbour who's done it. Then when she sees the blue box is a magical object, she's just generally nice anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how she plays out, as there may be more than there seems to the character. Especially since this is the second episode of the show, after Flux Chapter 4 Village of the Angels, to have a mid-credits scene during the end credits. Or at least for the UK and Ireland version, the version that airs in the UK and Ireland and on BBC iPlayer and the Region 2 home media releases, or at least UK and Ireland ones. Internationally, the Disney Plus version, I'm not really sure, but I know that it says there's a different ending before it goes into the credits, but they might throw in the post-credit scene before they start it or something. Not quite sure, but I know it's a little bit different for the international versions. International viewers, comment down below how it ends, how it's re-edited for you guys. But that's apparently what Disney Plus altered the ending. Not to omit the post-credit scene, it's just like adding the brand new adventures later this year thing at the end. Okay, fair enough. So we're okay to re-edit the episodes to say brand new adventures later this year at the end, or destination Christmas, but we can't show the next time / coming soon trailers at the end of the end credits before it says BBC Studios Bad Wolf, Disney Plus, made by these guys, etc. Or just before the credits start rolling. No, they have to become their own separate trailers. Please, Russell, I'm begging you, fix that. Fix that for the next series, please. Please. The fans will be grateful. But yeah, interesting little tidbits of it being a mid-credit scene, the second one ever, although, like I said, the international one, it might be moved to just before the credits, depending on their re-edit of it. But yeah, it appears that Mrs. Flood may not all be who she appears to be, or something has taken over her since seeing her when the TARDIS disappeared, or back earlier on. Who could she be? I wonder. Many people are speculating she's going to be a villain, but she could easily be a protagonist, an ally or friend or whatnot. Who knows? Who knows? Well, Russell T Davies for starters, but this is going to be some sort of ongoing mystery throughout the next series, maybe the one after, and we'll see how it goes. Same with The One Who Waits and The Boss. But we shall, and all the other mysteries that were set up in the Giggle and Star Beast. But and also Ruby's parentage, who her mother was, and what's going on with her, type of thing. We will find this out. Well, at least we'll start finding stuff out later this year, if not next year. Hopefully, let's just sit back and wait. So we'll see how it goes. And on the production side, this episode has a really cool production. I really like the goblins having kind of rope instead of wires and technology. It's their kind of technology and language. It's really interesting, and the fact they're using puppet again for the Goblin King. These episodes are using a lot more practical effects for the creatures for the first time in a while, as opposed to resorting to just CG, with the goblins themselves actually being actors. And I like how it's all edited in together. That is really great stuff. This episode, funny enough, is also directed by a returning director like the Star Beast, making this the second main episode post-regeneration story. If we take out Destination Scaru, the second post-regeneration story of 2023 to feature a director from a previous era returning to direct this episode, which was Rachel Talali for Star Beast, who did several 12th Doctor stories. And then this time, it's Mark Tonderay, who directed the second and third episodes of the 13th Doctor's era, the Ghost Monument and Rosa. And he made those episodes look really bloody brilliant. And this one as well, all three have kind of got their own different styles of how they look anyway. And I think he does a really great job with making this one different to both Ghost Monument and Rosa. So, yeah, does a really great job there, and it just comes out all finished and looking really, really great. Overall, I think The Church on Ruby Road is a really fun, really enjoyable episode, and a great start to the 15th Doctor's era, and a great start to Ruby Sunday's tenure as a companion. And a fun first Christmas special back after its hiatus since 2017. And thank goodness it's this good, because considering what the last one was, Twice Upon a Time, considering how that one was, thank goodness this episode turned out as good as it was. So I will be giving The Church on Ruby Road a 9 out of 10. Like I said, it's not a perfect episode, but it's a solid, fun, enjoyable romp for Christmas Day that starts the new era off on a really good note, and really enjoyable note. So, yeah, I know some people were a bit let down by it, but I personally really enjoyed it and really liked it. I did consider giving it an 8, but considering how much I did enjoy it, I thought it was only fair to give it a 9. Albeit like how Destination Scar is on the lower end of an 8, this one's kind of on the lower end of a 9, or higher end of an 8, but rounding it up. And that brings us right up to date with all of the 2023 specials reviewed. Funny enough, I'm filming this video out of order, not out of order of the other reviews, but before I do the two rankings that precede this, going out-wise. But with those made and out, and then this one following, we're right up to date. And that means we shall be awaiting for the next series, which is due to air in May. At time of recording, we don't know what the first episode is called. And I don't know if there's been many pictures revealed about it. I think one of those monsters in the trailers is like the one in the green tunnel is going to be the monster for the first episode, but we'll see how it goes. The second episode is The Devil's Cord, which features Jinx Monsoon, who I'm looking forward to seeing in the episode, because she's really delicious in that introduction video, and featuring the Beatles, apparently. So that's going to be one to look forward to. So yeah, at the end of this video, it will just say Doctor Who will return later this year. Won't say next episode, whatever, unless we get a title reveal of episode 1 and a clear picture of something from that episode. So next review will be that, and yeah, otherwise Doctor Who will return later this year in May. Yay! That'll be exciting. And I'll be turning 25 in May, so what a great birthday present. Anyway, so thank you for watching this review, guys, and I'll see you guys next time for Series 14 / Season 1 / ready? Season 40! Season 40! And it's technically the 60th anniversary season. How exciting. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne YouTube channel.